Hey guys, welcome to Friday. We're the 20th. Been a couple days now. Normally today would be science. It's going to be a little bit of science. I'm going to tell you about your science. We're actually going to keep going with math just a little bit. So let's do the science and then I'll tell you about math. Okay, so for science, last week you were given a project about the timeline. That's where you take pictures of yourself. You go from birth to each year of your life, and then you write things about yourself, things that you've learned, the characteristics that you have. Let me pull this over here. This is the example that I had shown you in class. I know, we had a funny words in class. When you are first born, there are a couple of things that you know how to do. One is that you are good at sucking and you are good at crying. Those are instincts that you know automatically. That was quite the joke on last week. But start working on your project. This will be due, I believe, May 9th, April 9th. I would highly recommend that you start working on this so that you have this finished when we come back. If for some reason we don't come back in the 2 weeks, we go a little bit longer, this project will still be due. So you should have plenty of time to do this at home. Just get some kind of poster board or some kind of paper that you can make that's nice and long, label it, and work on your assignment, okay? Again, this is kind of what it should look like. The part where you have mom and dad, where you put a picture of you, put a picture of your parents, and then you put things that are similar, you can do that on the back if you'd like to. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for science today. Miss Vanua and I will be recording a video for next Thursday going more over your science project. So you can start in the meantime, get a jump start. If you're like me, you like to get it done early so that you can not worry about it. So let's jump into some math. We are on 11.4. Oh, sorry, 11.3. Let me make sure I have that correct. So we're on 11.3 today. What we're doing is we're talking about quadrilaterals. Now, a quadrilateral is a shape with 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are different ways to classify quadrilaterals. This could be a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides. This could be a quadrilateral. It also has 4 sides. So there's different quadrilaterals out there. We just need to make sure that we can classify those and group those together. To do that, we need to understand some things about them. On your assignment today, it's going to say, here's a shape. Tell me all the categories that it fits into. So let me go over the categories quick with you. Okay? So quadrilateral basically means the shape has 4 sides. If it has 4 sides, it's a quadrilateral, okay? So that's a giant classification that is basically going to cover a lot of different shapes. If we break that down a little bit further, we get into what's called a trapezoid. Here we go, let's shrink it a little bit. A trapezoid is a shape with at least 2 parallel sides. Okay, trapezoid can look like this, top and bottom being parallel. Trapezoid can look like this, again, top and bottom being parallel. They don't always have to be the top and the bottom. They could be side and side, but 2 lines will be parallel going in the same direction. Okay, from there we have a special type of a trapezoid is called a parallelogram. A parallelogram basically means that you have 2 sets of parallel sides. Sides that are going the same direction. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Could look something like that. Okay? Parallelogram. Rectangle can be a parallelogram. Square can be a parallelogram. Some parallelograms are trapezoids, some are not. It just depends on how the lines are going. Because remember, a trapezoid, at least two sides are parallel. It doesn't have to be two matching sides, so you could have a parallelogram can be a trapezoid, but not all trapezoids are parallelograms. Okay, so let's shrink that just a little bit further. The other classification that you have is a rhombus. So I'm going to say rhombus over here. Rhombus is always a parallelogram. Every time that's going to be a rhombus. Will always be a parallelogram. However, some parallelograms are squares. Okay, square can be a square is a rhombus, a parallelogram, a trapezoid, and a quadrilateral. Now, the last thing we need to talk about is rectangles. That's this guy over here. All rectangles have two sets of sides that are the same, sides in the top and bottom, like this. A square can be classified as a rectangle, so don't get confused. Square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. Okay, so when you look at your shapes today, you'll say you have a shape like this. It's a rectangle. Okay, you can tell me, yes, that's a rectangle. Yes, that's a parallelogram. Yes, it's also a trapezoid, and yes, it's a quadrilateral because it has four sides on it. It is not a rhombus, so don't try to tell me that your rectangle is a rhombus. Those are different. Okay, on your assignment, go ahead and classify those. If you have questions, please reach out to me via email. Looking forward to the next couple of lessons. Science is coming up. Don't forget to start your project. Very last thing I need to go over with you is station time. So today we are going to start a station. Remember a couple of days ago I told you that when we are dealing with geometry, two things that we typically deal with are one, area, and two, volume. When I talk about area, what I'm doing is I'm taking a two-dimensional shape, okay, one that's flat, and I'm asking what fits inside of that area. Volume is different. Volume, so here's area. When I talk volume, I'm asking what fits in a three-dimensional shape. Okay, this is three-dimension. What would it take to fill this shape up? Okay, so volume, here's 3D, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you're talking about cubes and prisms and cylinders, things like that. In your packet, you're going to see a paper that looks just like this. This is our station work for this week. Basically, what you're going to do is it's going to give you some prisms. You need to count how many squares fit inside of each prism. So on number 1, I know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a row, and there's 2 rows. So I have a total of 12 cubes that it takes to fill up that rectangle. You're going to look at each one of the pictures and decide how many cubes or how many units fill up the rectangle. It's got a front and back. This won't be terribly difficult. If you do have problems, ask a mom or dad to see if they can help you count how many. Some kids, they get a little bit confused because they don't count the ones that are behind. Remember, if you have, here's a cube here. If I have a cube, okay, remember I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 9 on the front, but when I turn it to the side, it goes back 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3. So it takes 9 to do the first row, 9 to do the second row, 9 to do the third row. That would take a total of 18 pieces to fill up this block right here. You're counting how many cubes it takes to fill that up. That's what volume is the amount of stuff that it takes to fill up your 3D container. Okay, if you have questions, email me, give me a shout out. Hopefully you're doing great. Excited to see when you guys come back. Have a wonderful day, and we will chat with you later. Goodbye.